Hello, everybody. My name is Dylan Heyden, as Michael said. I'm associate editor at the Inertia. And first and foremost, I just want to say I'm honored to be sitting on the stage with these two guys. Ryan, as Michael said, is the head guy at Earth Technologies, and Chris Groh, representing Firewire. Kind of last minute, too. Mark was sick, so Chris is jumping in, and we appreciate his flexibility. But both Ryan and Firewire were early adopters of the idea that surfboards are made with toxic materials and that we can do better. And so for me, as an enthusiast, bottom line, it's amazing to be up here with these guys that are, changing the way that we think about our surfboards and just our equipment. So to start, Ryan, I'd love to start with you. As a longtime board builder, talking about that idea of toxicity of the craft, do you feel like there was a moment for you when you just flipped a switch, when all of a sudden it was like, I don't want to make surfboards in the way that they were made, or made previously?
I don't think we have mics, so we're gonna pass the mic. There you go. It's a really long story, so I'll try and keep it short and sweet. But basically, I've been doing eco boards for almost 11 years, since before there was even a term coined eco boards. But as most shapers that have been doing it for decades, I started as a garage shaper with traditional materials that are toxic, and rewind about 10 years ago, I got this sap, this super sap resin. And it was in the very infancy of it. It was super yellow, looked like sap, and I was like, yeah, I'll try it. And none of my boards broke. And I'm a pretty big guy, and so all my boards used to break. And so the switch was, wow, well, I can save money, number one, but it was a switch for performance attributes. And eventually, and I'm talking about Ray Bonatal, who is the one of the founders of Entropy Resins. That was the initial catalyst that really started the whole EcoBoard movement, because they invented a bioepoxy, and that didn't exist until that happened. And so that's really what happened, was the switch to that one material, and I never turned back. And I think part of it is, which I know you're going to ask me this, is where I'm actually from. I'm originally from Oregon, and Oregon's just beautiful. And growing up there, being surrounded by the mountains and the rivers and the lakes and stuff, I guess I was kind of born an environmentalist, and I didn't really know it until this switch happened. And so that's where a lot of the passion has come from, and really how it's happened. Yeah.
So Chris, before coming on board at Firewire, you became kind of internet famous with Shred Show. And I'm wondering, making that transition to Firewire, but even before that, during your time kind of looking at different surfboards and kind of talking about how they're made and, different features and innovation, was there a moment for you where it flipped and it was like, I need to think about how my surfboards are being made and why that's important?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I don't know how many of you have ever been introduced as being internet famous on YouTube, but it always feels suspiciously bizarre. I think the opportunity, and I like your story of how you got turned on to it. I think the opportunity for everyone is to have that switch hit a lot of different times at different intervals. So Chad Nelson, when Chad talks, I feel mobilized. That's one switch. There is a surf break by my home in San Diego that is the most fun wave you will ever surf twice a year, because there's a seawall there. It's so freaking tide dependent that it's only in all its glory maybe twice a year. So I surf there, that's a switch. I was really fortunate to catch waves in Lemoore a few days ago. Being in that pool, thinking about the ways that that's going to bring attention to the ocean, that's a switch. I have this meditation every time that I take my garbage out from my home. I just have it in a garbage bag, walk out to the dumpster, and I just think, like, where's this going? And I just sort of ask the question, like, where's this going? I drop it in the dumpster, and I don't force myself to do anything about it. I just drop it, and I just sort of wonder. And that's just sort of a meditative practice that keeps me conscious and helps me keep the switch flipping. I don't think I had like a crux of a moment like Ryan did, but it's just constantly sort of happening at intervals. Speaking of being mobilized by Chad, I picked up one of the pins, so thank you.
Well, so I want to talk about the ways that both Ryan on your level and Firewire are changing the way that surfboards are being made. So for folks at home that don't know, Earth Technologies recently went zero waste earlier this year. As far as I know, can we say it's the world's first? It's the world's first glass shop to be zero waste. And actually, we have a photo of these mealworms. Can we get them on the screen? So these mealworms are integral to this process. And I would love for Ryan to explain first his inspiration and also what the heck these things are.
Another long answer. Okay, so one of my nicknames is the EcoBoard Guru because I've been doing this for a decade before it was cool and whatever. A couple years ago, I was just thinking, okay, well, we're making eco-boards. We're like the eco-board capital, but we're still creating a tremendous amount of waste. None of this is, it's kind of like the lesser of all evils, right? It's a bio-epoxy, but it's nothing you can eat. It's still ending up in the landfill. If you think about how a traditional surfboard is made, you've got fiberglass, dumpster, tape, dumpster, squeegees, gloves, excess resin. Literally everything you make that goes into the board is scrap and is going into the garbage. So I was like, well, that's kind of a bummer. I mean, we can't recycle any of it, you know? You've got your regular collectibles, cans, bottles, cardboard, and that's it. But you can't recycle fiberglass. So there were some things already going on where we were upcycling fiberglass. There's a company called Push Fins where they use upcycled skateboard decks, like broken skateboard decks, and we send them all our fiberglass, and they make fins out of them. So that was maybe like a 2% reduction of our total waste. So the story goes, I got introduced to Eddie Garcia, whose company is the Living Earth Systems, which is an ecosystem with mealworms as like the muscle and some other critters in there. And basically, through a bunch of stuff that I didn't know about, I'm going to try and not get too technical here because honestly, I'm not the expert at it. But through bioremediation, these worms have a bacterial, something in their gut that literally turns something inorganic into organic material. And what we're talking about is styrofoam. And so, as an EcoBoard facility, we know we can't use traditional polyurethane foam, so we use EPS, which is styrofoam, which is recyclable. In other words, you can just keep it out of the landfill. It's not good, but you can keep it out of the landfill. But one of our biggest waste streams was the shaping dust, because you can't recycle that. The offcuts, the big blocks that come off the CNC or whatever, those can go back to the manufacturer and get recycled, and that's actually a program called Waste to Waves by Sustainable Surf with Marco Foam that, you know, Firewire is part of and lots of people are part of. So that was something that was already going on, but Eddie sent me this video, a time lapse of these worms eating a broken SUP inside out, and I thought it was CGI. I literally didn't know what I was looking at because it just didn't resonate. I had no clue. And so, yeah, fast forward to now, we figured out that would reduce about 35% of our waste. And so that was the light bulb moment when I figured, okay, well, if we can reduce all the shaping waste, what if I look at each room in the glassing factory and just do simple categorizing of the waste streams? And so you break everything down, and then we've got, you know, I like to say our workhorse, you know, our muscle is this heavy-duty shredder, and that actually shreds everything that's been categorized and densifies it down into a really small particle, which we can then upcycle, mix with new resin, put it into molds, and we can make products. And so we have zero waste, and we turn our waste streams into like fins or hand planes is what we're doing right now. Maybe we'll do some crazy stuff and do like skateboard decks and other stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So yeah, you can applaud for that. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. So Chris, I wanted to ask you on a different scale, Firewire, you know, is one of the largest producers of surfboards in the world. And from the early beginnings, there was a motivation to make surfboard manufacturing cleaner in some respects. What is Firewire doing at the moment? You know, kind of walk us through kind of the highest level of some of those initiatives.
In the interest of time, I won't list all of them. So we drive up here. We go to Coco's around the corner to get lunch. We came up here with our art director and our COO, and we sit down at Coco's. We're all around this table. And the waiter comes up, and he places straws on the table. And our COO texts, he's in here somewhere. He immediately and instinctively, because he has like 6 kids, he immediately grabs all, takes them all, and hides them so no one can use a straw. Our CEO, Mark Price, he mandated that no one can have a trash can in their office. So I don't have a trash can. If I want to throw something away, I got to walk to the back of the building. It incentivizes you to not create trash. But then the other high-level stuff, I mean, we upcycle our EPS waste into garden pavers. Slater Designs traction is made using algae upcycled out of freshwater resources that are at risk of toxic algal bloom. If you guys haven't seen what's going on in Florida, Google algal bloom Florida. It's nuts. The Slater Designs leash is built out of Ulex, recycled urethane, upcycled plastic bottles. Every board we make is under the EcoBoard standard, similar to Ryan, same as Ryan. And it just goes on and on and on. It's a process. Yeah, go.
You guys were the first label, major label, top 10, whatever you want to call it, to use the bioepoxy, to use the stuff that I started with. And
yeah.
so
thanks for blazing that trail, because he had to do a lot of R&D and waste a lot of money and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So applaud you for that, for sure.
Well, and you've got the cardboard. There's zero plastic packaging in the boards.
Say that again?
The cardboard, instead of bubble wrap, the boards are shipped.
Oh, well, we're experimenting with a lot of different ways to make packaging more sustainable. Yeah. How many of you have ever bought something on Amazon? Okay, that's every hand in here. Well, where did the box and the plastic, all that? Right. So we're constantly trying to figure that out. We have done that, and we're actually looking for more solutions to that too.
No, Firewire has absolutely set the bar for how you can make EcoBoards on a huge scale.
We're gonna hug before this is over.
Well, so that goes into a perfect conversation point that I wanted to bring up, and that's that because you guys are operating on such different scales. You know, Ryan, for your part, it seems like you're able to take new technologies like, okay, yeah, I'll try that. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, like as you know, as eco as you can get. You know, the other day, you know, when I visited you one time to do a little Facebook Live, you were using what was it? Flaxseed, like inlays and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And you know, that openness to all these new technologies, it seems like on some level, you're the guy that's like, all right, this works, this doesn't work, this works, this doesn't work. And then a big, you know, company like Firewire can be like, all right, thanks for experimenting, Ryan. Thanks for figuring it out. We're going to scale that, and we're going to incorporate that into what we do. And then on the other side, you know, Firewire is kind of doing things on a huge scale, and that's huge. You know, it's crazy to think about. So, you know, I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on from both sides, because it seems like there's this symbiotic relationship between both in order to make change and change the way that we manufacture surfboards.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Firewire was part of the inspiration for why we went zero waste in the first place. Because I was looking at, I think there was a video that came out of the surf ranch and the tiles around the surf ranch with the EPS melted down. And I was like, well, dude, they figured out a way to do that. That's awesome. And
you thought, I'm going to go find some worms.
Well, no, you know, and Mark and I we're buds. We talk. He saw the same video I did, you know. And so I know it's working. He's grinding the gears. He's trying to figure out a way.
Yeah, I mean, not much. It is he's built boards for us that are gorgeous with like incredible. I mean, what kind of wooden veneers have you put on the decks?
Anything from like sustainably sourced cedar to zebra wood, whatever I can get my hands on.
I mean, everything. Kevin Wilden from Sustainable Surf is always showing up at our Carlsbad offices like, look what Ryan did now, look what Ryan did now, look what Ryan did now. It's like, wait, you're showing off now. It's like, so it's inspiring in both ways for sure. Absolutely.
I think one of the things, one of the pages I'm trying to take out of your book and sort out is how do you know, we know we're really good at doing this EcoBoard thing, but how do you make it economically sustainable? And that's really, for the first 10 years, what I struggled with, and I'm kind of finally starting to get a lid on it.
Well, we can
Following you
solve
guys.
some problems over a Michelob
Yeah.
later. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Gold.
one thing that I kind of want to hone in on too, that you kind of alluded to, Ryan, a little bit, is the idea that no matter how good you make a surfboard, it's still made out of toxic materials. They're better for the environment, but they're not good for the environment. And I think that distinction is key. In an interview we did a year or so ago, you said something to me like, an eco-board can be a PU surfboard that's lasted for 50 years that you've repaired over the course, So I think there's an element too that is worth discussing, the idea of consumption, right? And I think in so many cases, we live in a consumerist culture, and we, always want like the newest model of the next surfboard or a huge quiver or whatever it is. And how do you, for both of you guys, how do you reconcile that idea that, having a whole quiver of surfboards, even if they're as eco as they can possibly be, maybe isn't as good as having two or one, or even repairing a PU board that's just sitting in your closet that, is super dinged up?
Another long-winded answer here. I try to not read all the comments on some of our posts, but there are internet trolls that they'll get to anybody. But one of that video I was showing you of that went nuts on the personal sci-fi I got that we made, zero waste and sustainably, all these bells and whistles and crazy eco stuff. I said, question mark, is this the most eco board out there? And somebody said, the most eco board is the one that's never made. Which, there's truth to that, but this is my livelihood here. So I'm doing my best. And, it's really about a change of attitude as well. Being eco is a mind state. It's not just, something you can measure. But yeah, there's another, guy about my age who's been shaping for a long time, who's a local legend, Tyler Kazikian, Tyler Surfboards. I would actually say that his traditionally toxic boards are super eco because they're so well built. They're lifers. They're going to outlast everybody that's purchased them for the most part. They're made so well. And then you look at the flip side of that coin, you've got these team guys, I think Kaloe went through 17 boards at the U.S. Open a couple of years ago because they want them so light, which is just unfortunate, but I don't even know if I'm answering the question.
Well, let me chime in and try to wrap it up then. As you brought up that point about Cassie is around here somewhere. I'm sure that she has some Takayama logs that have lasted 10 or 15 years. So it's kind of like, what path are you going to take to try to get the outcome that you want? And we're all kind of reaching for the same outcomes, but the tactics and the strategies that get you there are different. And that's why it's fun having conversations with someone like Ryan.
Well, one thing that maybe it's pipe dream at this point, but what we're trying to do is track every board that we make. And if it breaks, bring it back. We want to keep the boards out of the landfill because, boards are not indestructible. Even these lifers that we're talking about, they can suffer some sort of catastrophic failure, and they usually end up in the landfill. We'll bring them back. We've got a shredder. We'll make sure they don't end up in the landfill, any component of the board. But as you scale, it's harder to keep track of things. So that's something that I think as an industry, we could collectively work together, solve the problem.
All right, I think it's time to jump in and throw it back out to you guys now. I already see some hands going up. So let's jump back in here. It's a good conversation we're having right now, right?
Thanks for an excellent panel, guys. This is awesome. I'm really curious about performance attributes. I think I sense them on an eco board when I ride it, but maybe you can talk more about that. And also, for people that don't know, poly versus EPS and how I don't think poly, there's a way, unless, like you said, the poly is you keep it for its whole life, that's can be, in a sense, an eco board. But explain, I guess, what actually is an eco board.
First and foremost, this has to be said about our surfboard manufacturing industry. In what sport would the equipment not evolve for 60, 70 years? Can you name one? A surfboard, a traditional surfboard, 95% of boards that are out there are built out of stuff and the same technology that's been around for 60 to 70 years, which is not pushing the sport forward. It's actually pushing us farther back. The best thing that happened to the industry is when Clark Foam abruptly closed its doors, and all of a sudden people were scrambling. If you don't know, Clark Foam had a monopoly on the surfboard blanks, and these were the traditional PU blanks. And so what happened, companies popped up like Firewire that were epoxy brands, and they started pushing the tech, and the performance attributes skyrocketed. Epoxy and PU, now we're comparing apples to apples. We're talking about polyester resin, which is what traditional boards are made of, and then a bioepoxy, which is what Firewire boards are made out of, and my boards are made out of. And you get if we're comparing the two, you get better elongation, better flex, better performance attributes out of epoxy when compared to the traditional resin. And then when you compare the foam core, which is EPS, or polyurethane, which is also petroleum-based and toxic, you have a much lighter, more lively foam with epoxy boards. And so
we solve for that with a demo program. I mean, we have surfboard demos where you just come try the board and feel it, and you feel a difference, and that's it.
yeah,
It's just easier to have someone feel a difference than it is to explain to them why they should do something.
all that.
Yeah.
Everything.
Just our way of going about it.
Yeah, but there's a, what would you say, Chris? Like, a lot of people just don't like epoxy. How many pros? Oh, dude, I hate epoxy. Well, I'm
We'll check it
I'm
out.
only using small waves. Well, then I go, okay, look at Firewire. Michelle Perez is in Chopu.
That's right.
Come
on. You don't even have to look to Chopu. You have to look in this room to Tom Carroll, who has been on a SKX by
you go.
Tomo Surfboards recently and is ripping on it. So, I mean, there's your answer. Or Jesse Fain next to him is a great surfer. He's on a Moonbeam by Rob Machado. Look at Firewire Surfboards' Instagram story right now, and you will see Rob Machado surfing on an EPS epoxy board looking like he could collect scalps in competition. I mean, so there is your answer. If someone just wants to surf the same way they did 20 years ago or their grandfather did 30 years ago or whatever, hey, that's cool. I don't think either of us are here to change anyone's mind. It's like you have your tribe, and whoever wants to get in with it, you're good. And I think that's how we view it.
Anybody want to start to put odds on how long it takes Joel Turpel to make a collecting scalps reference in the next WSL broadcast? I think I saw some more hands up here. You mind passing this down, actually?
Okay, cool. Hi, guys. Thank you guys so much, first of all, for creating these technologies and using these technologies and pushing the surf industry to explore these new technologies. The mealworms thing is mind-blowing. I remember when I first saw that, it was like, psh. And then everything that Firewire's been doing, we're paying attention. Anybody who cares about the environment's paying attention, so thank you for that. My question is this something that can be kind of open source, these processes and these methods, where we're encouraging all of the shapers to start using these methods to kind of become as low waste as possible? Or is it, I mean, is it just like, okay, hey, we're also really trying to be eco and look at us because it's trendy right now? Or is it something that you really want to push everybody to
Come
do?
on. No, we're not trying to be eco.
Yes.
I feel you. I'm just,
But
yeah.
that's a really good question,
It is
and
a
there's a
great
very good
question.
answer. You're basically talking about Kevin Wilden and Michael Stewart's job at Sustainable Surf.
Yep.
They'll go, I think someone said something about knocking on doors for politicians today. I mean, if you build surfboards, call Sustainable Surf, and yeah, it's all open source. And I like that you use that term. They'll work with you on whatever you want to work on. I mean, they helped us with the paving stone process, how we make the upcycled pavers. So that's the short answer, is call Sustainable Surf, because they're there. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, it's look at our sport. We wouldn't have our sport without Mother Ocean. So we've got to do better. Every single surfer needs to do better. Every single glass shop needs to do better. And that's one of the reasons I didn't patent this whole zero waste manufacturing thing, is why can't I go train other glass shops how to do this?
Can they use the worms? You'll show them?
No.
So he's not
a
open source.
That's a conversation with Eddie, but that's something that's definitely out there, definitely something we can do. And that's what's actually really cool about that is look at the oceans and what do you see floating on? You see plastic bottles and styrofoam. So now look outside of our little industry and you have a solution in these mealworms. It's a global solution to a huge problem.
Thanks, guys.